I had this video ready for Foucault's Pendulum. Almost ready to go. I needed to do a little editing. And then I saw this Facebook post by Hapshoot something or other. He keeps changing it. It's McGavin, Shep, Hapshoot. I can't even pronounce the other one. I'm not even going to try. He's Dr. David Banner on YouTube, by the way. He claimed that Foucault's pendulum only works at the poles on a globe and therefore is evidence, I guess, that the Earth is not a globe. Yeah, that's bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why. Before I roll the intro, watch this.
I'm Lokifish Mars, and I have the fastest, easiest, and most effective way to put every globetard in their place forever, the sextant. The sextant has been used for centuries to navigate the world and measures angles with amazing accuracy. Using modern cost-saving methods, I am offering a working sextant to the Flat Earth community for free. This amazing tool is so small it can even fit in the palm of your hand. It's so accurate, it's been used to get within 1.2 nautical miles of one's actual location. All you have to do is contact Lokifish Mars at Outlook.com today to start smashing that ball-tard spinning space bear into pear sauce seasoned with globetard tears.
Terms and conditions. This is a real offer and is in no way an attempt to dox flat earthers. There is only one free sextant available at this time, so the first flat earther to agree to the following terms will receive the free sextant. 1. Agree to sign a location fix. 2. Agree to apply a 180 nautical mile course over water or land. 3. Agree to confirm your accurate location fix and course with a sextant every 60 nautical miles. 4. Agree to do so without using any Earth radius-based navigational tables or calculations. 5. Agree to show that the geometry of the sighted celestial objects consistently matches the geometry for flat Earth at each location. 6. Agree to do live stream or post a video showing you doing the above. 7. Agree to post a video within 30 days of receiving the sextant.
So Hapshoot claims that the Foucault's pendulum only works at the poles, North and South Pole, and it can't work anywhere else due to a bunch of hand-waving nonsense. And here is his post and his video evidence. Hapshoot had posted about Foucault's pendulum, and I described to him how it really works. And this is that post. But this was his reply. You totally made that crap up. Well, no. He goes on to talk about how the only way it swings in a plane on a rotating body is when it's centered above the center of rotation. In the physics illustration provided, so their little video that we'll see in a second, it's centered over the center of the merry-go-round. The only way the pendulum will swing and knock over the pegs in a pattern when it's centered above the center of rotation. It will show it by drawing and hitting the pegs on both sides of the center point. I didn't really see any pegs, but both sides of the center point, because it's swinging above the center of rotation. Being pushed away from the center of rotation, it won't swing that way, you dumbass. He always goes to ad homs. Here's the video. This is the video that Hapshoot was using as evidence for his ignorant claim that it only works at poles. It's a pretty cool little animation, and it's less than a minute long. If we go, we could see, basically it just runs, and this is it. There's no audio, there's no nothing. And it shows how, as it rotates, while the pendulum is moving, that it would precess. It's actually a pretty neat little video. As I said, the link will be in the description to these guys, because they have some very cool physics and astronomy videos. They're all animations. Nowhere in this video does it say Foucault's pendulum only works at the poles. He's using it because it is at the center of rotation of the merry-go-round, so that, meets his implication. I wonder if these guys know that a flat earther is using their video as evidence of a flat earth. You gotta wonder. Well, that was bullshit. Except for the video. The video is actually pretty cool. It's from a physics animation channel, and I'll link that in the description. The animation, it's not very long, and it shows on a rotating little playground merry-go-round why it precesses. Nowhere in the video, which actually has no dialogue of any sort or anything in its description, says it only works on the poles. That's Hapshoot's claim, and for the reasons that you saw, all of which is bullshit. And you could tell he's obviously never run a Foucault's pendulum, because the results you would get, the observations you would make, are very, very consistent and not what he says they are. So the observations we know are that it will precess clockwise north of the equator. So as the pendulum's going and it's doing this, it's doing it clockwise north of the equator. And then south of the equator, it's going counterclockwise. Clearly, that shows that the Earth is not stationary. And clockwise versus counterclockwise shows it to be symmetric about the equator. And the period of precession, the time it takes to take 360 degrees, on the poles it's 24 hours. It becomes longer as you go down, because now not only is the Earth moving, but the point that the pendulum is attached to is also moving, so it takes longer. And turns out it's directly proportional to your latitude. So at 40 degrees latitude north, it'll precess a certain amount of time to take 360 degrees. It'll also do the same thing south of the equator. At 40 degrees south, it'll take the same amount of time as north. Again, symmetric about the equator, which shows that it is not a flat object. So now we know it's not stationary. And then the symmetry about the equator shows that it's not flat, that it is a three-dimensional shape rotating around a central axis. Which by itself doesn't necessarily mean we're on a globe. We all know that we are, but it is one piece of the many pieces of the puzzle that show unequivocally that we're on a globe. And here's a little more about how that precession works. If you know your latitude, you can calculate the period of precession, the time it'll take for the pendulum to do a full 360 degrees rotation. It's very simple. The period T is 24 over the sine of your latitude. The interesting part about that is it doesn't matter whether your latitude is north or south of the equator. Meaning, if your latitude is 40 degrees north, you'll get the same period of precession as 40 degrees south, which means it's symmetric about the equator, which means that the Earth cannot be flat. Additionally, if you already know your precession time period, you can use that to calculate the rate. The rate per hour is simply 360 degrees divided by your period of precession. Or if you already know your period of precession, you can also calculate what your latitude is. It's the inverse sine or arc sine of 24 over t. It's very, very simple. In this example, the Paris Observatory is at 48.84 degrees north latitude. So that gives us a period of precession of 31.87 hours. That's how long it will take for it to precess all the way around. So at 31.87 hours, that gives us a rate of 11.3 degrees per hour. When Foucault presented his pendulum in Paris, at the Paris Observatory in 1851, it precessed clockwise at about 11 degrees per hour. That's documented. You can look that up. All of these numbers show, all these equations show, and what we observe in reality when we run the pendulum is that the pendulum precesses clockwise north of the equator, counterclockwise south of the equator. Therefore, the Earth cannot be stationary. The period of precession is directly proportional to your latitude, and it is symmetric about the equator. So the Earth can't be flat. So as you can see, Hapshoot, your hand-waving nonsense, word salad about why it only processes at the poles is absolute bullshit. And of course, you provided no evidence in your stuff. You had nothing you could hold up and say, look, this is the reason it will only work at the poles and nowhere else on a rotating sphere. You didn't do that. You said some stuff, but you didn't back it up. Because you know you can't. And that's how I know that you've never actually run Foucault's pendulum, because you would know that you got the results you're supposed to get. If you do it correctly, it'll be the same results every time. And students all over the world do this every semester in colleges and universities. So any claims that it is just random is not right. It's just bullshit because it is verifiable. It's so easy to verify. Or wait, did you go off and do it and you're just lying? Because I did catch you in many lies the night that you ghosted us on our debate. So, Hapshoot is a confirmed liar, and he knows dick about science. He certainly doesn't know how Foucault's pendulum works. I'm Mike the engineer, and I'm done. Talk to you guys next time.